Welcome to the Voluntary Option.
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday night. Welcome to the Voluntary Option, everybody. I think my intro played. I'm like half here and half there today. It's just been one of those days. I've actually had a pretty productive day today. Tonight's show is going to be an introduction of another couple of podcasters. I'm going to bring them on tonight, let you know about their shows. They're also streaming on Trovo on the Free Speech Media. And I figured it was a good night to get down and get to know the guys a little bit better as well, myself, and give them an opportunity to get their shows out, and, on a different platform. So other listeners can, from my show, can then obviously cross over and start to listen to theirs. There's a lot going on. Obviously, we know in the world today, you can't turn your television set on without, watching the impeachment of a citizen and, wasting your dollars is, the thing I want to remind everybody, as I tell everybody during all these proceedings, and if you look at the last impeachment proceeding, the Moore Act was shot down. What they say to you is, and what they try to relay to you is that because the impeachment's going on, all the rest of government shut down, nothing else is going on. That right there is the biggest lie that has ever been told on the face of the earth. But we're used to those lies coming from the entity in which we're speaking. But there'll be something big. Something big is being brewed. They got them all there. You know what I mean? Like they're all sitting there in the Senate right now. It's time that they can cast their votes and not have to say they can't be president. So there's something big going on. What it is, I don't know. Like I said, the last time it was the Moore Act. During the last impeachment process, I don't know, maybe halfway through the impeachment, news comes out that the Moore Act has been, shot down and this, that, and the other thing. And not for nothing, I'm very happy that it was shut down. I mean, it's still crap cannabis law. We have this enigma within our culture of accepting crumbs so much. And we have this enigma of also just following their lead, like we'll bring a bill to them and the bill's well written in our favor. Prohibition will be ending, this and the other thing. And then you got some yahoo that's got a pen and 6 other lobbyists that have interests, and they get added to the bottom of it, and it becomes this convoluted mess of the last stimulus bill, 5,000 pages of something that has nothing to do with what the subject is about to begin with. So was the Moore Act being shut down during the last impeachment? A bravo on my part? Yes. Why? Because if you haven't read the Moore Act, then you should. Just because we see bills go before Congress that say cannabis, legalization, decriminalization, all these little key words that they pop up there, like you headline readers do, instead of reading in. You have to read the policy. The policy gave control of this plant solely to the government, man. If you don't understand the money that was going to them, that the regulations that were being set up by them, the crap that they do to us every single time that we propose something viable for us. Again, we the people, correct? We're the ones that should be writing these laws, or even suggesting these laws be written for the people that we elect to carry out and do, right? Well, if they're gonna expect us to write it and then they're gonna write their own form of it, bastardize it, and profit from it, how is that representation of you whatsoever? It's not representation of you. It never will be. Never be afraid to speak up, folks. I've been sitting back, and of course you can't, like I said, you can't turn on a radio or television or nothing without seeing this impeachment crap. And the thing that gets me the most about it is they just want us all to shut up. And they always want us to just be quiet. They don't want us involved. The French president said that wokenness is is the problem, and that America is attacking the rest of the world from those that have woke. He said that wokenness creates division. It creates division amongst race and sex and all this. And in a way, I have to agree with him. It does. When you wake up to the fact that you're being oppressed, of course, it's your group, your personal, attachment that you're going to embrace and go upon. Of course, that makes sense. But to be woke is not a bad thing. The problem is there aren't many of us that are woke. We are so asleep in this country. We've got everybody and their mother focused on the box with people that are giving you false information. That's why podcasting and free speech media is important, folks. It's important that you hear another views that aren't just put out to the public. Why? Because they're done for two things: to fear you or hide something from you. And they do them both. They're pros at this. There's no one that does it better than the United States government. No one. The other ones are blatant. They just say, hey, we're communists, we're socialists, you're listening to us. That's it. Here they give you this false sense lie of that you have freedoms and that you have the rights to do this, that, and the other thing. Everybody that was at the Capitol on January 6th was not a terrorist, was not there to destroy things, loot, and whatever else. Not everyone there was to do that. And to look at a mass group, and people were there for many different reasons. There were people there just to cover media. There were people there that just said, hey, listen, I'm tired of the government. They weren't picking even a side. They're just tired of this government. Tired of it. And it's their right. It's what they're supposed to do. It's what is written for them to do. We can't shun people for, and then they make it sound like this. It was this big violent thing, and all these people inside were scared for their lives. Nobody was in there killing people. Well, we shouldn't say that. A policeman got killed, and so did a young lady and a couple other people. And then, heck, a couple days later, a couple of the guards killed themselves for some reason. You know me, I'm forever the conspiracy theorist. But that's telling. What would be so upsetting about a bunch of people screaming that they're pissed off that would make you go home and kill yourself a few days later? I don't know. I wasn't one of those guys, so I guess I can't answer for them. Well, whatever. Listen, hey, we're going to get on with our show right now, and I got Bill and Harrison backstage. I'm going to bring them on. I'll have my producer pull them on up to the screen. I'll go one at a time with them. Once they got on the screen, I'll I'm going to introduce these guys to you, let them know a little bit about their shows and where you can listen to them, like you're listening to me now on, I don't know how many different platforms, but I'm sure they do the same thing. So Jim, do me a favor and bring up Harrison and Bill, please. Thank you.
Hello, how you doing tonight, Bill? What's going on, Peter? How you guys doing? Glad to be here. Glad to get to talk to you finally.
Harrison, how are you today, brother?
I'm wonderful.
I'm glad to finally have you guys on here. I'm really interested in hearing a bit about what you do and your shows. What's your name of your shows and when people can listen to them? And Harrison, let's go with you first, brother. How are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. So my name's Harrison Kemp. You can find me on Free Speech Media at trovo.live/Free Speech Media. I have two different programs I do. I do the Aggressive Pacifist podcast with my friend Jared. That is every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then that is also every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My other show that I do with my friend Tyler and once a week with our friend Jim, that is the Liberty Happy Hour, which is exactly what it sounds like. We do an interview every week with somebody. Actually, right after this podcast, we have an interview with Adam Kokesh following. So you can catch that. You can catch the Liberty Happy Hour on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We were live last night, and you can catch us Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So basically, I'm an author, activist. You can check out everything I do at harrisonkemp.com. I've got a book out. I just finished a little booklet. It deals with homelessness, how we can solve it without the state. My first book is, it's got some popular names that you might know, like Napolitano, Mises, Rothbard. It's a historical fantasy type of book dealing with a lot of real law and real history just disguised. Right now, I've got some really interesting legal projects going on. So what you were talking about, like how it's impossible to get the state to work for us, I found that if the state's not going to work for us, we have to go to the citizens. So what I've done is written a citizens initiative and created a political action committee that's going after this. So you can actually, if you go to freemainpack.com, you can read the citizens initiative. You can check out what we're doing. And it's all about limiting the governor's power during a state of emergency so that shit like this can't happen. And then the other project I have going on is to end no-knocks here in Maine. That's a sponsored piece of legislation.
Can I cut
you
off
ahead,
for just a half a second?
Yeah.
I think that you're right, that governors shouldn't have the power they have to enact the shutdowns and this, that, and the other thing. But what they do have, and they don't do, is the right to tell the federal government, no, we won't do that. We will not comply with that. And that's where the problem lies with it. It's maybe not, if we could get them to stop being the sheep that the rest of the people are, then we might have some success in that area.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier to get the people to stop being sheep and then get them to stop electing sheep. Yes. That's kind of the route I'm going with it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I agree with you 100%. There's no one right answer. I think it's a better Yeah. Oh, no, I know. We're yelling at each other in agreement right now, Peter. I love it.
Oh, yeah. That's called libertarianism.
Right. You're wrong. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm glad. Hey, listen, I'm glad you were able to get in touch with Marcus and get Adam on your show tonight. Adam's always a great interview. He's a consummate professional. And I'll be watching you when I get done. I never can get enough of him. He lives right down the road from me, and I still watch him every time he's on a thing.
I appreciate you making that connection. He's going to be very helpful. He's a good friend now at this point. He's a great guy. So last night I'm sitting there getting ready for it, and I see him text me. He goes, "Hey, it's Adam. Are we still good to go at the same time?" I was like, "Holy fuck!" Adam Kokesh just texted my phone. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I know. He is so reachable. Through text. Yeah, through text. Like he don't like to talk on the phone a lot, but through text, oh my God, he'll text all damn day long with you. I mean, he's very, very, very easily approachable and stuff, and that's good because it works to his benefit.
Yeah, it does. That was cool. And then Bill, he's got a kick-ass show. I actually had the pleasure of being on that a few weeks ago. That was pretty fun.
Well, thank you for segueing Bill in for me there, man. This is what podcast hosts do. They all know the game. So and now let's welcome Bill to our show. Bill, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let them know a little bit about you?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Bill Barger. I'm a host of the Don't Quote Me on This podcast, which is a comedy podcast. I kind of just launched it, but I'm branding it as the most politically incorrect hangout podcast in New England, and so far it's true. It's not a lot of competition, and we basically hang out, have a good time. I think that there's so much purging of people's accounts, and so many people are afraid to say what they want to say or just like make inappropriate jokes. I thought I'd make a home for it called Don't Quote Me on This. It seemed like a good appropriate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. My wife is like thumbs upping in the corner over here, hearing the description of your show. She's like,
I am the most politically incorrect person.
She's the most politically incorrect human being you'll ever meet.
Archie Bunker.
She's Archie Bunker, and no doubt. So it's awesome. We'll definitely be catching on. So, and when is your show on?
Well, so I'm also on Free Speech Media Network with you guys, right? Which is great. All this crossover content we're able to do. I'll be on at 10 tonight. So every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Now I go live at random other times. My schedule is not as tight as it could be. But every Wednesday there's something streaming. So tonight it's going to be live. If it's not live, there will be something streaming that's like another episode. But I have a bunch of them in the bank. There's always more going up on rss.com. And you can follow me too at facebook.com/BillIsAJoke. Because that's what I'm going for.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Listen,
and if you guys need, if anybody needs,
we need laughter in the world right now, man. We need more laughter in the world right now than we need anything, man. Every day you wake up and they start making you angry the second you turn on the tube, and we need to smile. That's the only way we're gonna heal. And I think but it's not gonna happen if people don't pull their heads out of their asses, for no other better way to explain it, and truly understand that what they hear is only there on that thing to control them. And I don't understand why grown adults can't figure out bullshit from truth. I mean, my grandfather always used to say to me, I always say things to you 3 times, son. And I say, why? He goes, because you'll know it. You're never going to forget it. If I repeat it 3 times in a row to you, you're never going to forget it. And, and he was right. He would say stuff 3 times. I'd be off and he'd say, hey, what was it? I could tell him whatever it was. It's the same thing with the damn television. No matter whatever news you're listening to, if they repeat it enough times, you're going to believe it. And even if you don't believe it, you become so infuriated, you start your own podcast. Because that's all.
That's the truth, isn't it? That is the truth. And so on the Don't Quote Me on this podcast, our goal is to make a joke out of your rights every day, every episode, just like the U.S. government does.
And they do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, and I want to ask you, Harrison, where can people pick up your book? You mentioned your book.
Yeah, you can, if you go on Amazon, the dreaded Amazon, just search my name, Harrison Kemp. I pop up there. Or if you go to harrisonkemp.com, you can find my book there. There's a little book tab you can go to and find them both there. There's also, you can find links to all my podcasts there as well. So tons of content there.
Yeah, Harrison is super professional. Excellent. He's got a lot of content. Don't mind. Did you take care of that bot problem?
I did.
Good.
That was several hours worth of dealing with bots. Oh.
He had some fans, but they were like a robot that was just spamming his page with content and links for nudies and stuff. I don't know, fake. Some of them were fake links, right? Probably virus links and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting there. I log into my website host, and it's you have 303 comments, and I'm like, hot damn, I've blown up. And then I go in there, and it's all just get your new Mercedes key programmed, and click here, single ladies in your area. I'm like, what is this? So I combed through all of them, and there was a couple of good ones, but they were all just bots. And there was a couple of bot ones that you couldn't tell if they were bots or not. So I kept them because I need the comments to boost me up.
So
our website gets hit, but thank God it hasn't got hit. Nothing like that. Nothing like that though. But you have to, in today's world, if you're going to, with all that we do, you have to have a place for people to go get it. And a website for us was something we had to do between our business and our cannabis business, and then activism and television and fucking radio. And I mean, we've done it all in the last 6-7 years. And we're trying to do that back here again now too in Arizona. We've been researching, and guys, if you can do it in your area, do it, man. Local access networks on your cable TV have to offer you free television space because you pay because of the easements on the poles. So that's how they repay the public. So we used to have a TV show in New York. We were in millions of homes, 2 million, over 2 million homes. And just because, and we got lucky, they actually had a studio where we were, so we could actually go shoot. We made our own set, we shot our own show from there. But it's a great tool that we're missing out on, I think, especially with people that want to make change, people that do vote. It's not 18-year-olds that are watching local access television. It's people that are turning that on because they're turning it on for a reason. And they're people that vote, and they're people that are going to make changes for us. And I think it would be a great place for the Libertarian Party to really start shoving faces. The advertising is nothing on the stations. I know back in New York it was $60, and you had a 30-second bit or 10-second placard for $60 for 1,500 times a month. It would go up. So I mean, like, there's so much opportunities out there that, like, even for free speech. That's the tough part, though. It couldn't be free speech, man, and that's hard with this New York mouth, man. Fuck is like my second word. It comes out of my mouth every second word. And
fuck yeah,
TV,
brother.
You can't. You can't do that on TV. It's like something they don't like so much.
That was something.
But yeah,
that's why weirdos like us can make a living on the internet.
Like seeing your podcast on this, you could turn on a cable network and there you are. And it was real effective. Honestly, we gained a lot of notoriety that way.
So I started out.
All you have to do is call your local cable network. They can tell you, tell you what their local access rules are. Whatever.
I actually started out, my first time ever on any broadcast was on a local access, like, television network, Manchester Community Television. It was like 2011 too. It was 10 years ago. I never thought I would be like having my own show at any point that was broadcasting.
Wow. What was your show about? Were you doing like gardening or?
It wasn't my show. My friend had a show called the Liberty Express. And it was just like, this guy was doing exactly what you're saying 10 years ago. Actually, I have an episode. I have to air it. I have an episode with him. Go ahead, Peter.
What the hell is the name of that show? The Voice was just on, and the guy that took third place on The Voice, Ian Flanagan, he was on my show. He was one of the guests on my show. I interviewed him. I actually introduced him on stage one time when I gave a speech at a rally. So it was really cool. And I turned on the TV and I see him on there. I'm like, holy shit, dude, I know you, man. And I didn't even see him. I heard him. I said, that's fucking Ian Flanagan, man. And sure as shit, I came around the corner and it was him. Man, I've got to watch my mouth tonight. I'm really on a tear.
Are they going to demonetize us?
It is free speech media, after all. I think you're good.
Yeah,
I support it.
I know, but I can't myself half the time. But anyway, guys, I am a cannabis activist. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, but most of my time and devotion, if it isn't fighting for liberty, is fighting for that plant. And I've done a lot of crazy things. I got to speak at the United Nations in 2018 at the Drug Policy and Sustainable Development Agenda, which was really cool. I got invited by the Swiss government because Swiss government because our government wouldn't go. So,
so you are the official government of the U.S. when it comes to cannabis.
I was that day. Yes,
You're the USA's representative. Like, they couldn't have picked Willie Nelson. They're like, "Nah, we get Peter Yeatple."
And
well, they're the same guy. He's just a little bit cheaper, They don't make the same money to take the flight.
Exactly. I even paid my own travel.
Oh, you're hardcore dedicated.
It's weird because even what surprised me even being there is they didn't even use the word cannabis. I listened to 15 speakers and I listened to the whole, setup for it and the whole minutes from the last and how it got. And I'll tell you what, they did never use the word cannabis. They used
what they call it,
other natural substance. Other natural substances. We're using other natural substances. I'm like, you're using cannabis, I'm saying to myself. And when this doctor from Israel got up there, he says, we have had 100% effective rate getting people off of opiates, success rate, getting people off of opiates with this other substance. So,
but they wouldn't say what it was.
It was my turn.
Other
then it
substance.
was my turn. I go, listen, we're all speaking about cannabis here today. I mean, can we just use the word cannabis? That's exactly what I said.
And everybody stood
up and started clapping. He said, you gotta be kidding me. That's all it took was some hippie from freaking New York to say cannabis 3 times in the UN, and everybody stand up and applaud. But really, they were afraid to use the word, man.
It wasn't politically correct.
Again, it's not politically correct still, I guess. But the funny thing I did learn.
You should have said pot.
Learn there though was,
got the whole N saying pot, the whole UN.
And cannabis, probably the whole time I talk, because I use every form of verbiage there is for it. People get upset, like don't call it this. Well, you don't call it what I call it shit sometimes. Hey, you got any shit?
Sometimes it is.
What the hell's the difference what I call it? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it is. You're right.
Totally.
But it's
I just
crazy,
call it
man.
weed.
I just think that listen, it depends where I guess I am, or what I'm talking about.
That makes sense.
When I'm in a store and I'm trying to sell my product in, I talk about cannabis every time, right? There's never a word that's going to come out of my mouth that isn't cannabis.
That's the professional word.
It's right. But to the lay person, just hanging out, I might say, you got weed, or you got any bud, or you got whatever. It's never. To me, it's just whatever you want to call it. I don't give a shit as long as you're smoking it. That's all that matters.
Peter, you should have sold the UN on like ganj or something, like just like giving them the most slang that you could have. Get everybody at the UN being like, yeah, we all love the ganj. You want everybody to use ganj to cure their
ganj.
Yeah.
I got a dub in my pocket. You can. The funny thing is, you got to remember when you're walking through the UN, you're walking through different countries, actually. And there's some countries you could have just fired right up in. They probably wouldn't have said a goddamn word to you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I never thought of it, or I would have done it. Honestly. I really honestly would have done it. But it was a really cool experience, though, man. If anybody ever gets a chance to go, it's a shithole and a cesspool, but it's pretty amazing the shit that goes on there, We've got so many things I'd like to talk with you guys about and see where you're standing at this point in time.
Let's do it.
How is it in your area of the world as far as face masks and holding your breath and all that other stuff?
Sucking up your own exhaust.
Harrison, you want to go first?
Alphabetical order. You go, Bill.
All right. So I live in New Hampshire right now. I bounce around a lot, but I was in California most of last year. But in New Hampshire, it's pretty, culturally, it's one thing, and then like the law is another thing. So the law is pretty strict. Not great. We haven't been the bastion of liberty that we claim to be. Culturally, it's a little better. People are kind of mind your own business people around here. So I can go into most stores without wearing a mask, and like I'll get to the counter and they'll be like, "Hey, do you have your mask?" And I'll just be like, "All right," and I put it on for 2 seconds, and then I try to resist doing the thing where as soon as they've given me my change, I take it off and I look them in the eyes, and then I walk out the door. Yeah. Because what are you gonna do? Tell me to leave? I try not to do that because it's kind of a dick move, but I want to every time, and I have done it. And they're just like really. I'm like, I don't believe in it, and I leave. I will say New Hampshire culturally is a place. I just recently got involved with the Mises Caucus of the Libertarian Party. There's a bunch of us. And I think the underlying culture of New Hampshire, so many people are just like mind your own business people. It's better than I thought it was. But as far as the law goes, it's terrible. The progressive cities basically get to pass whatever legislation they want. They have the run of it. And the people who mind their own business mind their own business. Don't worry about what the law is too much, but it doesn't make for a place where, like if you think about who's going to move there just looking at it on paper, it's not going to be free thinking Texas people unless they're sold on the idea by somebody who's selling the culture, essentially. On paper, like we don't have the best gun laws. Texas is a better place to stay. You still can't smoke pot here. There's lockdowns, there's capacity restrictions, mask mandates.
Man, that's terrible, man.
Real estate taxes are high.
I've got nothing like that. I hear about all this stuff all the time. And honestly, and I think it's just the news pumping it up. But like Arizona, man, we don't do none of that stuff, man. There's no masks, you carry your gun, you do all that stuff.
I loved driving through Arizona.
My gun's right next to me. I have my gun with me all the time.
Carry their guns.
But yeah. So to me, that's like you'll go. Well, I can't say not everybody doesn't wear a mask. You'll go into Walmart, you know what I mean, and you'll have your Walmart faithful there in their pajamas, but got a mask on. Right. I don't know what they're protecting us from, but whatever. But I'm sad to hear that, man. Really, the law actually will come down on you for that.
Well, I've gone on the radio and tried to point out to people that the law doesn't help. So first off, they passed a mask mandate in Manchester. This was before they had a statewide mask mandate and before obviously Biden's federal mask mandate. But I would go on the radio and it's alarming how many people just jump on board with these things. So they'll say, well, we need to pass the mask mandate. I'm like, first off, most people are wearing masks. Second off, if somebody is on the street, let's say, and you've now given the government permission to charge them $2,000 for not wearing their mask. Well, first off, do they even have COVID, right? Yes, no, maybe. Should we charge people who aren't even spreading the virus? Second off, if we're going to test this, then we have to drag them downtown and give them COVID tests or something, right? Do you support that? And then once you say, if we're going to do this, do it. Not only that, taking people's money doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't cure anybody's COVID. Now you've put the cost on, if you're saying you're killing people, you've put the cost at $2,000 to kill as many people as you want without your mask, essentially. And then if you pay it, you just get away with it and you go out without a mask again. This not only does it not solve the problem for them, it's just taking people's money in a time where people are financially crunched more than ever, and they're crunched because of the lockdown. So I'm like, we're going to enact more laws where we take more money from the people. And especially when you look at the science behind masks, they just don't help. And I can show you charts upon charts. Are you guys familiar with?
Right.
What was that?
I'm 100% agree with you. And it's not a society of freedom. It's impossible to say that we live in a free society if you're told what you can and you can't do all the time, man. And it's getting to the point where they're dictating pretty much everything. Pretty much everything. You can't gather with your family, or you can, but you can only gather with so many of them. And you can only do it on Tuesdays from 4 to 6. And,
Oh, that's so crazy.
As silly as that sounds, that's really the way it's coming, And,
yep.
And I
and people are begging for it.
I don't get it. I know. And they just said, but the point being what you said is that it is poignant, because you said, when I say, people go, well, they mandated it. Then that's all they have to do is tell them, hey, guess what, guys? It's mandated, and now wear your underwear on the outside of your pants. Everybody and their mother would be outside with their underwear on the outside of their pants just from hearing that. And people are that simple. That's where we have gotten.
Well, you could sell it too. You could just say that there's a bio, like a microbial buildup that you get around your genitals that actually neutralizes COVID. And so if you wear dirty underwear on your head, you're actually neutralizing the bacteria as it goes in and out of your mouth. And so, it's scientific. I just follow the science, man.
Science. That's all it is. It's science.
It's just science.
Now,
there's a consensus. There's a consensus among scientists.
No, I think there is a true consensus.
Scientists in the room right here.
We all agree.
Well, it's like when they get Fauci in there, it's a consensus because Fauci said it.
No, The only mandate I will make is that if you're listening to this, make sure you go to trovo.live/free speech media, click that follow button, and watch us join all the programming. That is mandated from up on high. The sun said it.
That's right.
$2,000 fines if you don't do it.
So 2,000 token, whatever they're called, spells. You owe me 2,000 spells. So I think, you know what, you're absolutely right that people need to start waking up and they need to start actually doing something, you know, not just complaining. And if you kind of want the framework for what to do to start taking the action in your state, go to freemainpack.com, check out the legislation or the citizens initiative I've already written up there, and start using that as a framework. You can also reach out to me through harrisonkemp.com, and I will help you for your state personalize it. You know, I'm only going to do one per state. We don't need 1,000 per state, but I'll make one baseline per state with you guys, and then you can run with that. So reach out to me. Let's do this. Our tagline is let's set Maine free. It's time to set Maine free. Oh, guess what? It's time to make America free again. You know.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
So that's that. You know.
Can I line you up with some of the Mises Caucus from New Hampshire?
Yeah, I'm connected with them.
Okay, because they name dropped you the other day. They're like, we need to see what Harrison's doing because he's getting towns to pass stuff and then getting the state to pass stuff, and we need to see how he's figuring out which like localities to target with these new laws to get it more traction at the state level. So that's what they want to talk to you about, as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk with anybody, man.
Harrison's going about it the right way. Yeah. You'll fit right in with Adam on that premise because localization is key, man. We definitely have to localize our government rather than blanketing it with this, this one size fits all crap. Because you live in New Hampshire, I live in Arizona. I was from New York, and believe me, New York is nothing like it is here. And I'm sure New Hampshire is nothing like. I've only drove through it once, or drove in it once, but never spent no time there. But I mean, it's different than Arizona, and it's definitely different in California and Texas. I mean, we all have different. I mean, and parts of Texas are different than parts of Texas. For Christ's sakes, it's so big.
Yeah.
So
parts of Maine are different.
Localize our government. We have to let the people be in charge again, man. And
that's the only way to win the culture war.
That's right. And listen, if that's the way we have to do it, we have to take things back by ourselves, then we take it back by ourselves. First of all, we don't need a leader. I say it all the time. Why would Adam only be president for 12 seconds? Because he would get it, and then he would say, we no longer need the position. You know what I mean? These are the things that people don't understand about others in the mindset of government that can exist without all of this power, without all of these positions that don't need to be done. People go, oh, my God, you would talk about getting rid of the post office? That's a federal. Yeah. Well, how will we get our mail? UPS and Federal Express already bring you mail, dummy.
Just wait till they find out.
Somebody. Plus, it opens it up for free enterprise, and people could earn a different living or do that. I mean, people don't look at the benefits of cutting down drastically the size of this imploded mess that sits there and rules.
Can I give you my 2-second pitch on Liberty? Or it's more like a 30-second pitch on Liberty. This is how I pitch it to people who don't know. I'm like, okay, so you get taxed, or your employer gets taxed at 20% before he is able to, of every dollar he generates, right? You get paid, they take 20% of your paycheck before you see a dollar of it. Okay? You go to the store, they tax you again. Now, what would you pay in these taxes if you could pay any amount? Most people are like, oh, I don't feel like I'm getting that much back. Do I get to keep everything I'm getting back? What is that anyway? 0? I'm like, great. So then I say, now, if you're not getting it, let's say it's going to the disenfranchised of society, right? It's going to the homeless guy on the bench or whatever. Let's go ask him. Is he getting 20% of 20%, or on top of 20%, on top of like 10% of every person's dollars? And he's going to say, fuck no, I'm not. I'm like, okay, so let's get rid of these taxes. Let's stop letting the government take our money. Because you know who is getting it? People in Yemen in the form of bombs, and they're fucking eating them. And it's fucked up because they're not eating real food, and we're literally supplying arms. So you know who's getting our tax dollars? Bureaucrats and children in the form of bombs and starvation. How's that?
You got it. That's perfect. It's absolutely perfect because listen, it's the true assessment of our world. And it sucks that we have to say that, but that's exactly how we live. And people are content.
They are. And, for me, economics and talking about the military and war, those are kind of the most fun things for me. That's what brought me into libertarianism and then into anarchism, voluntarism, whatever the hell label you want to put on it. I'm of that ilk, regardless of the label. So the point is that for me, there's a lot of reasons for us to want to end taxes that fund the military, that fund the highway systems, that fund the bureaucrats, even that fund the homeless programs, because they have bad effects. They don't actually solve the issue that people say they will. Homelessness is a perfect example. We've been spending millions upon millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, many years, and yet homelessness is still a huge problem. It's just about as bad as it's ever been. So how can we actually solve homelessness without the state, without a bunch of federal dollars that have already been taxed from somebody else? So now by the time it gets back into the communities, well, it's had to pay bureaucrats, it's had to go to overhead. So you're not even getting a very good percentage of the money that the communities invested through taxation. So if we just got rid of those programs and we told the communities, hey, you're on your own, the communities would take care of it. They've always taken care of it.
Of course. Yeah. That's the funny thing when I hear the people always say, well, you libertarians hate roads. You guys don't want us to be able to build roads. Listen, if you want a road bill, pay to have a road bill. If say you're paying, like you're saying, look at all the tax dollars you're continually paying. If you weren't paying any taxes and you were just earning, and the community said, we need a road from point A to point B. It's $150 for everybody for the next 3 months. Can we build this road? Believe me, they're going to put the money there because the road will get done. The problem with bids, though, with cities is this, that I always see, and I've seen this a lot of places, is that, but like you're saying, by the time the money gets to where it's supposed to go, the people pay the taxes, then it goes to the town supervisor who's paying the contractor, who's paying, and by the time any material even gets bought, a third of the money a third of the money has already been blown and spent before they even put, one piece of gravel into the road. And that's the part that aggravates me is you don't need all that. Environmentalist crap. I'm an environmentalist, I should say. I'm a conservationist, I should say, maybe. I just love the earth and I don't want to see people destroy it. But to stop production on things for an owl that's banging in a tree, I think the owl will bang in another tree. I mean, I don't know how owls work sexually, but if they're anything like humans and it's time to have sex, they're going to have it somewhere else. It's even if that tree ain't there and you put a road through there, they're going to move 3 trees over. But they hold this stuff up for 6 years and pound more governmental money in to the study of will the owl move over 2 trees. I mean, I don't get it, dude. I just don't get why people embrace this craziness.
Well, I think people forget that most interactions are voluntary. They forget that just like, so for example, the reason that you are good to the dude at the drive-thru or, when you go to the grocery store and you're friendly and you pay them is not because the government forces you to. Most people do it because that's what people do. Like it's better to have a community than to fuck over every person that you encounter. So I think that they forget, they're like, well, we couldn't just have, Manchester pay for Manchester's roads or Arizona at least pay for Arizona's roads. You know what I'm saying? We could go state by state. We could go town by town, whatever it is. First off, humans didn't invent the road. Okay. I mean, like deer trails, literally the government didn't invent the road. People have been making paths for the longest time. Upgrading them is a matter of putting money into making a better path. So it's not like this concept came out of like the US government or something.
Right.
So that's kind of silly. And then you live off grid. I've lived off grid in California. I've spent a bunch of time off grid in California. People pay to make their own roads. You can have a guy come in. It's going to be a gravel road. But if you had everybody chipping in, they also don't understand if we're all pitching in to pay for roads a certain amount, do you think it magically costs less when we have the most fucked up bureaucratic system with the people we trust the least in society managing it? Do you think somehow it's going to cost less? I know buying in bulk typically costs less, but like, do you think buying in bulk through those scumbags cost less? Really? You know?
Right.
It clearly
I
doesn't.
get it.
So, but the idea is that, well, Manchester's an hour from Boston, right? Boston has more people. They're richer. Well, they're going to have much better roads than Manchester. Well, you don't think that Manchester and Boston, having people go back and forth, will reach some kind of voluntary agreement like, hey, let's pitch in this much for the roads between Boston and Manchester? It just makes sense, doesn't it? You know, those are the most used roads, too.
And then make one step further on the roads. So
Go for it.
It wouldn't just be individuals pitching in for those. It would be that companies would own large sections of roads, and they would offset the costs of those roads by putting in like a flat rate on each receipt. So every time you go into the store, it's, hey, you drove on the road to get to the store, your toll is $2 or whatever it is. And then over time that would increase or decrease according to the rates, you know, rates, how much they have to do and whatnot. But that would be a way that we would have tolls that it would just be everybody, regardless of how much you use the road, is paying for the road. It's only the people who use the roads to get to and from the place that owns the roads would be paying for the roads. And a step further than that, and that would be everywhere. That would just be like in those areas where, like in Boston, for instance, in big cities, you would have this a lot, where companies would own portions of roads. And they pitch in to own portions of roads. Not as much where I live, like in the middle of the woods. That would be more people. It would be, but everywhere would have its own way that it does it, you know. And two, when you tell people, hey, federal highway funds are unconstitutional, and if you don't think so, just go look at the James Madison veto message to the Internal Improvements Act of 1817. Read through that baby, and then tell me where in the Constitution did they make an amendment to include federal highway funds? And when you find it, email me, but my inbox is going to be blank.
Well, they probably
nobody's gonna email you on that. Nobody can email you on that. The funny thing about it is you're right, and companies I think would spend the money to get the roads so you could get to their company. You know what I mean? Like that, to buy their wares. They're gonna have
not just companies, people. I mean, but everybody. It would just be so easy to have a community initiative. You know, if you can set up a community initiative to pass a law to spend a certain amount of money, you can do the same thing for a frickin' road. It's so much more important than a lot of things people do these things for. It's not like there's a foreign alien concept we have to employ here.
Listen, why are people so afraid to be happy?
Well, that's a long, complicated psychological conversation, and I'm not prepared to answer it because I don't want to.
That's honestly, because that's happiness to me. You know, working together with your community, getting things done, and living. That's how I live. That's how I survive off grid. You know, we've got, you know, we all have big properties, you know, 40, 50 acres apiece, so nobody's really your next door neighbor. But everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing, and if you're going into town, you let them know. You got to be that way, man. And if people could just put down this, you know, the funny part about it is 90% of the people in America are pissed off about political shit that they have no idea what the hell they're even talking about. They don't
even know what it means.
They know nothing about politics. They have zero idea what goes on. They have no idea how the system works. They don't even know what the people's positions are that are arguing. And they don't even, you know, I mean, people have no real say because they really don't know. And yet everybody in the world hates the next guy because of their political views. And that just bothers the shit out of me, man. It's just like, don't worry about who your political views are and just elect good goddamn people. You know, if there was a good communist running that carried a freedom and liberty platform, he may get my vote over some crap socialist pig that's trying to, you know, rule over me. And I mean that. I mean, it's of course I belong to the party. I'm a national party member, all that stuff. But if there was a better candidate than Joe this past time, I would have voted for them. But there wasn't. Joe, in my opinion, was the best there was on the ticket.
What about
I don't
Yeezy?
think Joe was the best candidate. I don't think
Yeezy
Joe was
definitely
the best
had the
candidate.
best shoes.
I was a delegate as well. She didn't get my tokens, but
Yeah.
and not that she's a bad person. Joe is truly Miss Liberty. You know what I mean? Like, she knows the principles probably tattooed on her back.
Terrible at messaging.
And it's a good thing, right? But there was better people. I mean, there was a lot better people. And with that said, who would you guys want to see on this next ticket?
Well, it's never going to happen.
I have a dream team, but it's not feasible. But it would be something along the line of would really be the dream ticket for me. I think more realistic is probably something.
Who did you say? Who did you say? Wood Smith?
No, Tom Woods and Jeff Deist.
Oh, Wood. Oh man, that would be great. Yeah,
that would be a killer.
I was thinking if we could get like,
what could they talk shit about? You got a Harvard professor, and then you got Jeff Deist, who was a lawyer. Like, there's two good smart guys. That is the dream team. Principled is all get up.
Listen, we have to put something real out there this next time, and we have to get working on that now. That's the problem with the party. We wait till the goddamn conventions, and then we nominate somebody. 4 months later, we're trying to get America to learn who the hell our people are. We can't do that, man. Then people got to be in the face. We got to pick a certain group of faces, put them out in America's space, have them at these things, have media asking questions to the people that are standing on the stage. Well, I heard that so-and-so would handle it this way. What would you do? We need to inject ourselves into that mainstream in that fashion. And we got to do it fast or we're going to be screwed. What about you? What are you thinking, Bill?
Well, I was thinking if we could get Angela McArdle on that ticket, man, she's just she goes so hard in interviews. She's unabashedly libertarian. She's great at messaging. She can pick. She's not going to resort to talking points that sound popular. She'll hit the most relevant to today issue, not something that people are talking about. Listen, because there was a whole lot of Black Lives Matter stuff this last time, which, Black lives do matter. But at the time, it's applying to even more people in a more real way is lockdowns. Right. Lockdowns are affecting every state, actual people's lives every single day. People are losing their jobs, they're losing their businesses, they're losing their life savings. And it was barely addressed. I mean, how can you miss that?
Yeah,
Come
Angela's
on.
doing great stuff in LA, man.
Angela's doing really good. And
in
she's in the belly of the beast. And so I respect that so much. I'm if she can do that right now, I want her on that ticket because she's got my vote for chair of the Libertarian Party,
Say she's running for chair. Yeah, I know she's running for chair too. Yeah. And she'll do good. She'll do good there. Listen, Angela's a pit bull, man. I no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I like what she's doing with the restaurants in the county, getting all the restaurants together because they've been closed down and they're getting all together now and going to the state house and stuff. It's pretty cool. She's been doing some really cool stuff.
I feel since we're not going to get
people are active, man, that's what makes the change.
100%. I think since we're not going to get elected, I will pick the two most effective people at messaging. And it's if we pick Dave Smith and Angela McArdle, I'll take it because
I think that's a good ticket right there.
There's a thing with Tom Woods and with Jeff Deist. I feel they're just a little bit too professional for the young generation. I love them. I love them to death. And Jeff Deist less so. Then Tom Woods, honestly, once you listen to more of him, he's just a dad that's a blustery, full. He's great.
He's these bastards,
It's so funny, dude. But I love both of them. But really, I think just to appeal to a younger, broader swath of people and people who are really good at messaging, Dave Smith, Angela McArdle that would make my heart melt.
And Dave Smith has access to the big media platform.
Good Mises candidates.
Oh yeah, I know. And I'm sold on the Mises Caucus. I mean, I'm there.
I'm so sold. I'm a state organizer.
I hear you.
If you're in Maine and you want to join the Mises Caucus, reach out to me. Join our Facebook group. email me at memesiscaucus@gmail.com. Get connected with me. We need to grow our numbers, and the party takeover happens at the state level before it happens at the national level. So come join the team, see what we got going on. I've got plenty of shit for you to do. I promise. You will take plenty of human action with us. I guarantee it.
Hey, Peter, what's your Libertarian Party like over in Arizona?
Arizona, we just we went to the convention 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, man.
We went to it. Got to meet a lot of good people there, and I'm glad that I got to go to it. I'm glad the convention was this early in the year. Pretty active. Emily got elected as our chair, and she's bravo to her. She's done a lot of work here. Jeff Daniels did a lot. He ran as well. I would have voted for Jeff if I had a vote, but I just did fill out I just filled out the paperwork and just handed it in to be a committeeman in the county right now, because we've got a lot of people here that are looking to run. My wife is actually running for Justice of the Peace here in our town, and then going to go from there to the county, and then but just progression and starting at the bottom and jumping her way up. And I got every faith in her too. My wife is tougher than I am. I mean, and I don't ever shut up. God Almighty, I just don't like it when she starts talking, because she can overtalk me in a second. Or just tell me to shut up and I'll do it, because I know better. Oh God, I'm tiny guy. Oh God. What time do we got? I don't even know what time it is.
It's 8:56. We already did almost an hour.
Almost an hour.
That flew by. Fun. Which I was seeing that time, and
so. Well, what I'll do is I'll give you guys the last couple minutes each, just to plug yourself one more time. I know Harrison, I think, shows next, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
sorry
cool.
about that. The Miller Lite wanted to say something.
Yeah. Good. Give a quick plug.
Oh yeah. So stay tuned, because right after this, I've got Adam Kokesh, my co-host Tyler, and I interview him for just over an hour. We talk about everything from living off the grid, voluntary living. We talk about his books. We talk about his activism, military career. It's a great story. And, he's been one of the leaders in the liberty movement for a very long time. So please check that out. And you can also check out all of my stuff at harrison.com. I have 2 separate shows. I've got the Liberty Happy Hour. We do an interview every week, and then we do a live show every Tuesday there. And then I've got the Aggressive Pacifist, where we talk about something real, kind of introduce you to something historical or libertarian for the first half hour. And then the second half hour is grab a beer, light a blunt. We're talking conspiracies, and we're just having fun. So check that out. That comes on twice a week as well. And like I said, you can pick up all my books and find out all my projects and whatnot right at harrisonkemp.com. Thank you so much for having me on, Peter. This was great. It was nice to get to talk to you. And Bill, as always, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. And so if you want to follow me, I am at, so if you want to follow the podcast, don't quote me on this. That's rss.com/DQ or /podcasts/DQMOT. And I'm there. I'm also on Facebook. If you want to follow me on Facebook, my page is public. I just use it pretty much to promote like liberty stuff and jokes. If I think stuff's funny, I make some memes. You can follow me there. I got a Twitter. It's the same thing. Bill is a joke. I used to do comedy, but I got shut down during the lockdown. So now I spend my life doing podcasting and picking up gigs. So thanks for having me on, Peter. This is a blast. I hope your audience enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed coming on.
Cool. Hey, man, anytime, man. Come back some other time. Never got anything you want to say, just let me know in advance, man. I'll plug you in at any time, man.
Dude, I'd love to do another one. I feel like there's so much more to talk about. And also, I'm always traveling the country. So, like, if I'm ever in Arizona, you can be sure I'm going to hit you up.
Come on, brother. Come on. We got plenty of space for you. I promise you.
Excellent. Thanks again, man.
All right, man. All right, cool. Well, guys, that was pretty interesting. It was a different kind of show for me, and I loved it. I was glad that you guys got to get at least introduced to them two gentlemen. And like you said, this free speech media that we're doing right now on Trovo, please go on there, take a look, follow some of these shows, man. Because we do speak freely, man. We don't just feed you the bullshit. All right, guys, until next Wednesday night, I'm your host, Pete Yapel. Thank you to my producer, Freedom Jim, my guests, Harrison and Bill. And we'll catch you next Wednesday night. Same channel and whatever else. Live the freedom which you choose to live, brothers. Peace.